Hello and welcome to Lesson 31 of Financial Sobriety School. Thanks for joining me today. Whether you are on YouTube or via podcast, welcome. This lesson, I am going to talk about something that I have been asked a lot about lately, and actually something I get asked about a lot overall. Should I consolidate my debt? To consolidate or not to consolidate? And it's a tricky question. And when people ask me about it, I have a lot of questions I ask them. It is not a simple yes or no for me because it can be a super slippery slope when it comes to if it's a good idea or not. I have a theory that I call the Prince Charming effect. And what that means is something to come and rescue you. What are you looking for to rescue you? And is a loan consolidation just something that you're looking for to rescue you from your finances and your debt? And yes, it can rescue you from that. And it could also possibly get you into a worse place than you were originally in. And so I'm going to back up a little bit with that because that Prince Charming effect can be so many different things. It could be when I retire, I'm going to have this, so I'll pay off my debt then. I'm going to find a relationship, and from there I'll be able to pay off my debt. Or maybe I'm going to find a relationship with quote unquote Prince Charming, and they're going to come and rescue me, and it's going to be a fairy tale, and we're going to have a Cinderella story. And that's not happening. And I feel like I want to channel like Mel Robbins right now. I love how she's just no bullshit. And she's like, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to help you, right? Like Prince Charming isn't coming knocking on your doorstep or whatever, right? The lottery is kind of a Prince Charming effect, just this fantasy of like something is going to come and save you. And as I was saying that, did you feel really seen? Because it's normal. It's normal. I have a lot of people who have this dream of like what money's going to be like in time. And it's okay that it's not now. And they just hold on to this dream. And it's like, how long are we going to hold on to this dream? So the Prince Charming effect with loan consolidation comes into, again, that rescuing. It comes into, okay, now that problem's gone. Because when you're at the point of when loan consolidation needs to happen, you're at a bottom, right? You're at a like, I can't make payments. I don't know what's happening. Or like you're just starting to really feel the pinch of stuff. And if I get a loan consolidation, that will solve all of my problems. And I've had so many people as well come to me with those, like there's a lot of loan companies, a lot of consolidation companies that are just predatory when it comes to their interest rates. I saw one the other day, and that was here in Canada. It was like 42% or something ridiculous. It's like, how is that actually helping anyone? That's actually making circumstances a lot worse. But even before, like, taking out a loan or anything, what behaviors have led to you accumulating your debt? That's what we want to look at before we start to, do loan applications, to start thinking about all of the things that we're trying to do in regards to our payments is what's happened? And sometimes that can be really hard to look at. But if we don't actually understand how we've gotten here, how are we going to change anything? Because what will end up happening is that you're going to take out that loan, you're going to get a consolidation, you're going to have a monthly payment for that, which will feel like a lot of breathing room most of the time if it's not like one of those companies that is absolutely bananas with its rates that it's going to give you. Do not take those rates. But what will happen is you'll get the consolidation loan, And then all of a sudden, it will be racking up your credit cards again. Your credit cards are going to be accumulating a lot of debt. Your credit cards will all of a sudden be maxed out again. So then you have the payments of all those credit cards again, plus your loan payment of the consolidation you've already done to pay off those credit cards. And when you're listening to this, you might actually hear like, oh boy, that's exactly what's happened to me in the past. And that's okay, and also, like, why didn't that work for you? And it's because you didn't really have a look at those behaviors and know and understand why you got to where you were. You were looking for that quick fix. In this life, we're just and especially in this day and age with, like, instant gratification and, online shopping and dopamine hits, and when you get that loan approval for a consolidation loan, that dopamine hit and that physical rush in your body that starts to happen is really, really strong. And I'll never forget the first time I took out a consolidation loan and the feeling of like, oh thank god, it's like a really big balloon that starts to like get too big, and then all of a sudden the pressure starts to get let out of it, or else it has so much pressure it kind of pops, and like that relief feeling. um oh, it just that feeling in itself leads people to that consolidation because they want that feeling again of like, all my problems are fixed. But are they? Absolutely not. Sure, you're gonna get a lower payment and you're gonna have a plan to pay off your debt, but what is the most important thing to do before that is to really understand spending behaviors. Like, what's my credit score? What's on my credit? Like, what's really going on? Because there's a lot of information in that on what would be best for you. So what I say to people, especially if they're really in, a place of, like, addictive spending, compulsive overspending, I say, like, "Let's work together to really get your spending under control where you're having that sober spending, you're really, conscious, you're mindful, you make educated decisions about your spending, you understand where your money's going, and really having that relationship with your money and financial sobriety started to build up before you take out that consolidation. And if it's at your very bottom and you can't wait that long, having to ensure that you have a plan to work on your spending if you do that consolidation loan before you do that like that work with your money, because it's not always about the money, right? Like, there's so many people that will tell you, like, of course, like, if it's lower interest rate and you can do it, like, yes, you should definitely, get a consolidation loan. And I'm not that person, because what I see is the people that come to me afterwards, even in my career when I was working at the bank, that was like, "Hey, like, I took out that consolidation loan and my credit cards are maxed out again." And it's just this cycle, and we need to start to break those cycles. And in recovery, we talk a lot about, being a cycle breaker. Like, this ends with me. Like, it's no longer going to run through my family, these habits. And, breaking a cycle with our spending is just that, it's cycle breaking. And making sure that you're breaking those cycles before you start to look for that quote unquote easy way out. Prince Charming effect, right? Looking for something to rescue you. I think that's one of my, biggest messages. And, it comes down to even like people with balance transfers. It's kind of the same thing. That's essentially a consolidation. And I think those things are absolutely fabulous. They come at a time sometimes when people really need them, or I think it's a really beautiful like part of your financial sobriety strategy overall. I think there's a place for them. And I think you need to make sure that you're really clear on your behaviors and trying to really work on that and making some headway on that before you do go forward with it. I know that it's going to save you so much more money in the end to do that, than it is to just then rack up those credit cards again. Breaking those cycles, stopping those habits before you all of a sudden are right back to where you started from, and probably worse because now you have this loan payment on top of all those credit card payments. So, balance transfers, loan consolidations, all kind of the same stuff that way. So, keeping an eye on that stuff to ensure that you are changing habits, having a conscious, sober relationship with your spending. Um, when it comes to some things to consider for consolidation loans when, you feel safe and ready to do so, safety and money is a term I use a lot, and people at first are like, "I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what do you mean safety and money?" And, it's like, when do you actually trust that it's a right time? When can you trust that things feel good? And that safety comes in feeling confident in decisions that you're making with your money. That's a huge piece of the puzzle for all of that. So when you feel like you've done some work and that feels safe to take out a consolidation loan or a balance transfer, whatever that looks like, some things to really keep in mind are interest rates. This is where, thankfully the governments are starting to, put some stuff in place where there's not huge interest rates. But at the same time, again, I saw like 42% the other day, and it's like this big advertisement that it's going to actually help you. And the worst part about that one is that it was actually on my Credit Karma. So, Credit Karma is an app that I use for my credit score, having a look at it. I love Credit Karma because it really gives you an idea of exactly what's on your credit score. It's free. But then there's the downside of it, and I always like to warn people, is they'll send you offers and they'll tell you, like, this is your approval rating for this kind of credit card. And so that part of it feels icky to me. But if you have that information of like, just ignore that stuff, we're using your credit score, we're getting that information, getting comfortable with the knowledge of our credit score. But that's where I saw that 42%. And like, how ridiculous, because it just is so bananas to me that they would even suggest that when I have things with credit open that are like way less interest rates if I was to want to consolidate anything. And even anyways, I could go on and on about that, but it's just so predatory in regards to, it looks like a great idea and the selling features seem great, and then like people don't actually look at the interest rates and then in like terms, right? So is it even more than what you're paying now for interest rates? And if it is, that's, right then and there, that should be a red flag, because a lot of your credit card debt is probably at a higher interest. So try to find something at least with a lower interest rate than what you have. Because other than that, yes, it does give you a plan of a certain term, right? So that's also another thing, is like the terms of the loan, meaning how long do you have to pay it off? So some of them, usually maximum you can, take a loan out for is for 5 years. So that would be the terms of the loan. Could you take it out for longer to lessen the payment? Sometimes, but again, is that really the best idea? Because 5 years is a long time. And then, so how long do you want to be making payments on, credit card debt? And really checking in with yourself. What would feel good? What wouldn't? Like, let's understand what we're actually doing here. And like, what are fees? Is there fees and stuff involved? Like, how much are they actually going to charge on top of the interest for doing that? There's so many hidden costs I find that they try to put into loan consolidations, especially these online banks. These online banks are the worst for stuff like that. If you have someone that you deal with in a bank or a credit union or anything that you're dealing with that you trust, and they do those personal consolidation loans, those are the first place I would start. Not necessarily like where you're getting advertisements for or anything, because you have a relationship with those people. And relationships with your money is really, really important. When you do a consolidation loan, it is, it's what they call a quote unquote, like, hit on your credit score. So that's where understanding where your credit is at is really important. So pulling up something like Credit Karma. A lot of people now and a lot of banks actually have it within our banking apps as well, where you can actually go on there and hit check my credit score if you have like a credit product with them. So a credit card, a loan, a mortgage, and you can get your credit score, your FICO score, like right within your online banking. So you don't actually have to deal with Credit Karma or another app. And it'll give you all the details of what is on your credit bureau. The nice thing I do like about Credit Karma, though, is that it does tell you what you're doing well with your credit and things that could make your credit better. I love that knowledge piece about Credit Karma that way, where I find that the check my credit score within your banking apps doesn't give you that information. But if you do a loan consolidation application, it'll do a hit on your credit. So your credit score will lower for a little bit. So that's where I like to kind of check in with people like, what's your interest, or sorry, what's your credit score right now? Just to make sure it doesn't like put you into a situation where your score is really, really low. And also seeing like, is it even possible with your credit score if you have collections or things like that? Is it even possible that you might get a loan consolidation? Having that knowledge before applying is really, really big. And yeah, really making sure that it's, if you have a payment plan that you're going to go on, and obviously you will because you're taking out a loan, is, how long is it going to be for? That's the terms I was talking about. How much is the payment going to be? And check within your spending plan that that's going to be realistic for you. Really making sure that you don't get caught up in this rescuing and this, financial safety piece. And then all of a sudden, you aren't able to, make those payments. And then again, we're just kind of, it's the rob Peter to pay Paul, that whack-a-mole of moving our money around, trying to, feel good about it. And so that's where sometimes that loan consolidation piece can come in and really, really affect so many different things. Um, but, making sure you can actually afford it. And and obviously I know with the circumstances when people do take out loans and stuff, they're feeling like they can't afford the payments they have. But again, financial sobriety is really taking that time to have a look at what you're doing. You're going to get that dopamine like rush when you're doing a loan thing, and you're going to maybe feel like not completely present. Okay, thank you so much for the information. I'm going to take this home, the contract, and just have a look at it. And, or do I have time? Can you explain this to me? Because a lot of people don't even like get things explained, and then they're just signing. And then later on down the line, it's like, oh my goodness, like, what did I sign for? Things go sideways really quick. If you have a professional in front of you that's doing a loan consolidation, they should be taking the time to educate you on what it actually is. And if they're not, they're not used to people asking questions, because these people are looking for rescuing and like, oh my goodness, yay, my problem solved. So they just want to sign their lives away and walk away. But a big piece of really having that connection with your money is understanding what's going on. What's the interest rate? How long is this going to take to pay it off? How much is it going to be every month? Really having an educated decision and getting that information and feeling comfortable that you know what you're signing. I think that's really, really big piece of overall financial sobriety, feeling confident in your decision. So my overall thing when it comes to consolidate or not to consolidate is, have you looked at your behaviors? Have you changed some behaviors? What are you doing to work on your overall financial sobriety so that you're not going to end up in the same place you are now of really like can't keep up with payments? Um, yeah, I think that's where I'm going to wrap it up for the loan consolidation piece because that was a lot of information. And it kind of just rolls off my tongue and like I'm able to just say it. I do have a blog version as well of the lessons that I have all of this in if you want to read it, because I did just throw a lot of information at you in regards to loan consolidations. And again, like I know a lot of people have a really hard time with like, I don't understand even what these things are. That's the beauty of these lessons too, is like there's those blogs for you to read to have that information to help with your financial literacy. I want to help you to understand your money and have a conscious relationship with your money. That is my overall goal in my business. I hope that you got some information that you needed today on this. Always feel free to drop me a line at linda@lindaparmar.com. If you are feeling like you just have any questions about it or anything, I'm always happy to help. And I will see you in a couple weeks for the next lesson. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Be well.